We also helped some scenarios where they got attacked and they never paid ransom because we were able to solve them from bring the data back from our own ecosystem.
Welcome to Impact Insights, where we explore the ideas and innovations shaping our future. I'm Emaad Akhtar, co-anchor of Money FM 89.3's Breakfast Show, and today I'm joined by Praveen Vunnava, Global Field CTO at Cohesity, a company at the forefront of modern data security and cyber resilience. We'll be diving into how they're contributing to the future of intelligentization and the insights they've gained from working with leading organizations across the region. From safeguarding AI-era data to tackling compliance and intelligent recovery enabled by strong partnerships across APAC. Praveen, thanks for joining us on Impact Insights.
Thanks for having me.
Let's lay the foundation for this conversation. Data protection and cyber resilience are front and center pretty much for many organizations. How is Cohesity evolving to meet these threats in an AI-driven world?
That's a great question. So Cohesity as a company, our mission is to protect, secure, provide insights into customers' data, making applications resilient across the organization that they're running as what you call as a minimum viable company. So part of that, we have three focus areas. One is data protection, second is data security, third is data insights. Data protection is all about making sure everything you have in your environments that is critical for your minimum viable company to be running to be protected, secure, more importantly, put into an immutable, indelible storage. That's an easy way to put for data protection side of it. The second element is all about data security, which goes back into details about how you identify, respond, recover from elements of whatever the threat may be. That's the data security part of it. Within the data security, we also look at few things like threat detection, threat hunting, threat scanning, malware scanning. All those elements kind of add up to give you a consolidated score to identify how Cohesity can react based on some event that happened and help you through the process of recovering the data as well as applications that are still on top of it.
Now, I can imagine it must be a difficult approach balancing performance and compliance, especially with emerging data privacy regulations across the APAC region. What are some of the key considerations that you take into account?
So I would say data governance is probably a really critical element when you talk about compliance as well as especially PDPA, which is like Privacy Data Protection Act that's specific to Singapore. Every regulatory requirement, every country has their own things. So you want to be able to align to those, especially if you go to Europe, there's DORA. Everybody has their own compliance requirements. So we actually have data governance built around our platform to make sure we not only classify the data, make sure whatever we do, it's always following zero trust architecture. So you're never losing any data, making sure you're secure by design, secure by default. All those elements are taken into account as we build our ecosystem. Going back to your performance side of it, all these things are done in parallel to integrations with all these partnerships. We have what we call as a data security alliance. That security alliance is built on multiple different security vendors that we work with. Could be SIEM, so like Cisco's of the world, ServiceNow's of the world, Splunk. All those are simple examples. Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, they're all part of our ecosystem. So we're bringing elements of those from a security standpoint to make sure we comply with whatever the regulatory requirement a specific country or region has, while not losing any performance. A piece of the performance comes through our underlying data platform, which is what we call a SpanFS, just scale out file system. It has got no requirement for rehydration, so we build things back much faster than anybody else in the market.
Now, as AI expands, so can data sprawl, and it can be rapid and uncontrolled and pose several risks on the security front in terms of rising costs. How are you helping enterprises make data not just safe, but intelligently usable?
So that's a really great question. So we leverage AI across the entire platform today. So I'll give an example here, especially with threat detection. So when we bring the data in, as we do data protection, that's our main business. So as we're protecting the data, we're the only vendor in the market today, as it sits today. We do something called entropy calculation as we back up the data. That's actually done real time. We look at a subset of the data and identify if there's any change in the data. Because when a ransomware attacker gets into the system, he's encrypting a set of files, not one or two files. So we identify the randomness by looking at these subsets of the data, not entire data set, because when you do entropy, that costs a lot of compute and memory. So we don't do that. We have a patent technology that allows us to, that's where the innovation comes from, to make sure you're not incurring the cost, but also providing the value of the detection with all the components that are already available in the market to make sure that we give a proper guidance for a customer standpoint as well as a platform standpoint, we identify things faster, recover from them faster, but also not even need to recover. So we actually bring the system back to point in time based on these AI components, like what I call as a recommended recovery point. That's all built into the platform today.
Speaking of customers, I want to ask which industries you cater to, or are you industry agnostic?
We're industry agnostic, so I'll give an example there as well. 86% of Fortune 100 uses Cohesity today. That's a simple way to put it. But if you look at Fortune 500, we probably talk about 70% minimum. So that's a correlation. Doesn't matter what the industry is. We have 10 out of 10 telcos use us. 10 out of 10 pharmaceutical companies use that. Like if you look at FSIs, they almost, I would say 8 to 9 out of 10 use that today. I'm talking top 10.
Are there any industries that are particularly at risk or vulnerable to breaches and cyber attacks?
I think it's across the board. I'm sure everybody knows that. These customers are reaching out to us to help them through what you call as a ransomware resiliency maturity model, see where you are and how you actually get to that end state.
Are there any case studies you can share with us wherein you've helped clients avoid a potentially catastrophic situation or a distressful situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So we not only we help the customers to prepare for it, but we also help some scenarios where they got attacked and they never paid ransom because we were able to solve them from bring the data back from our own ecosystem. So what we call is something called a cyber event response team. They helps through the process for customers that got impacted that we are managing, and we walk them through what almost like a follow the sun model to get their systems back online. We've done that for hundreds of customers today.
From your perspective, what does trusted AI look like when it comes to backup, recovery, and threat detection?
There's a lot of elements to trusted AI because AI, it's based on data governance component I talked about, as well as being able to have ethical AI. There's a responsible AI. There's all these things have to come in play for you to be able to deliver that trusted AI. Because there's a lot of the vendors as well as even ourselves, we use something called generative AI. So we were the first vendor in the data protection market to get into generative AI with the RAG. What we call as a Turing model, Alan Turing, from very famous scientist. So we use Turing model, leveraging LLMs that we built to actually extract business value from data. So that's built on trusted AI as well as generative AI that we leverage in general. So there's a lot of elements of AI to be able to effectively give that trusted AI concept to customers to rely on some solution that you're providing. Because there's data security controls put in place as well as overall zero trust architecture built into it, so you don't compromise anything, while also not providing unbiased information back to the end user.
You share a pretty strong partnership with NCS. How do you see the role of partnerships like that one in building digital trust foundations of tomorrow? It's
very critical, I think, for us from our standpoint. We don't want to be like partner that won't, like customer vendor that only works with one set of vendors or partners. We want to work with any ecosystem that exists in that's where NCS plays a bigger part for us in the ASEAN region, and they work with us pretty regularly to help customers solve this cyber resiliency problem, while also with that CERT model I talked about, which is cyber event response team. They can also partner with us to deliver those elements where we can actually recover customers' data as well as applications back online. So we do work with a lot of partners. So it's purely built on partnerships. We have tens of thousands of partners that we work with today.
What, in terms of feedback from clients that you work with, is the biggest challenge that they are currently confronting?
I think a lot of the customers don't know where they are in that maturity model I talked about. So there's 5 steps to get there. That's what we call our cyber resiliency maturity model. There's a destructive part of it as well as being able to get to the end state. So they don't know where they are unless they actually go through this process to identify how they fall into the category and which category they fall into and what step they're in. So that's typically what I hear from customers to help them walk through that process.
And in a nutshell, what stands Cohesity out from its competition? In other words, why should a customer come to you and not your peers?
First and foremost, we have twice the amount of R&D compared to any closest competitor today. As you probably might know, Cohesity acquired a company called Veritas Data Protection Business. So combined company have like twice the amount of R&D. So there's a lot more innovation coming through us compared to anybody else, first and foremost. Second, we support probably 1,100 plus workloads that nobody else touches. That comes from Veritas side of the business. But now Cohesity, part of the platform, also gets the support, as well as the security partnership I talked about, which is also very critical because we don't work with one or two. We work with anybody that has open cybersecurity framework. So it doesn't matter. It's anybody that actually has any kind of inclination towards NIST, which is National Institute of Standards and Technology. We work with any one of those as long as they follow the framework. So those are all the things I think quick differentiators apart from all that product itself.
Praveen, it's been a pleasure having you on Impact Insights. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for sharing your insights, Praveen. We really value the partnership and we're looking forward to continuing to co-create what's next together.